It's been nearly 5 months since the launch of Arknights Endfield, and the units that we've got ever since then have all been elemental focused hybrids and DPS units. But version 1.3 changes everything because physical DPS enjoyers are eating good with the debut of Mifu. She is basically a better version of Endmin in terms of damage output, offering a much fluid, responsive, and fast gameplay for a greatsword user, making her a very unique character. In today's video, I'm going to break down Mifu's kit to make it very easy to understand how she works, best build, teams, rotations, and finally, damage comparison with Endmin. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Battle skill. Her damage output is heavily focused on her battle skills, and she can use 3 of them. The first one does very little damage, but it has the ability to group enemies in close proximity so that she can punch them to the afterlife. The pulse range is limited to Mifu's field of view, so that means it'll only pull in enemies that are in front of her. The first skill will consume 100 SP, but it will return 50 SP. The second skill will be available after casting the first one. This is a 2-hit combo, and it applies the Crush vulnerability stack just like Endmin. This skill will consume 50 SP. Whenever the second skill consumes at least 3 vulnerability stacks from enemies, a third skill will be available with a huge damage multiplier that is considered as crush damage, but it does not scale off skill damage. This is where her damage is heavily focused on, so you need to stack as much art's intensity as much as you can to make it do more damage. This skill will consume 50 SP as well. So the entire combo from her battle skill consumes 150 SP. But it's technically 100 SP because some of her abilities allows you to skip the first skill, which is very useful in single target endgame modes. Combo skill. Mifu's combo skill gets triggered when an enemy has 3 or more vulnerability stacks applied on them. Using her combo skill will do decent damage, and it applies a 5% physical susceptibility buff on the enemy. After the combo skill is cast, she immediately gains a shield and becomes very hard to interrupt for 10 seconds. The shield is not quite thick because it scales off only 30% of her max HP, but the main issue here is that it lasts for only 10 seconds with a 60 seconds cooldown, but it's reliable to help you avoid death if you're good at dodging and don't decide to run any sustained units in her teams. Her second battle skill will be available right after using the combo skill, Ultimate. Mifu's ultimate does pretty decent damage, and it applies the lift vulnerability, which is very good in multi-wave content to disorient smaller enemies. Using the ultimate also makes the second battle skill available for her to use, and that pretty much covers her kit design. Build. Her weapon is a must-have if you want her to do high damage. At max refinement with duplicates, you can expect up to a 15% damage increase when compared to her signature weapon with no refinement. But if you can't get her signature weapon for any reason, she has a couple of very decent options that you can use. A no refinement exemplar from the standard weapon pool does up to 95% of her no refinement signature weapon, and when it's fully refined with duplicates, it reaches the same level as her no refinement signature weapon. So this can save you some pool currency if you have copies on your account. A no refinement Phantom Pain from the Battle Pass does up to 85% of her no refinement signature weapon, but when it's fully refined with duplicates, it reaches up to 90% of her no refinement signature weapon. If you don't have any of these alternative weapons, you can use the Ancient Canal 5-star greatsword as a placeholder until you can get your hands on the exemplar from the standard weapon pool or her signature weapon. Essence to use is based on the weapon that you're running, so just farm for the perfect stats that matches your weapon. So for example, if you're using her signature weapon, go for an essence with strength boost, attack boost, and combat to boost the buff from the passive. For her gear, the best in slot will be Grizzled Edge. The armor can be Swordmancer, Light Armor, or Grizzled Edge Armor, depending on your preference. Grizzled Edge Armor has a slightly higher damage potential due to the physical damage bonus that it provides, depending on how good and optimized your rotations are, but majority of players will have issues with ultimate energy acquisition since Mifu does not get to use her skills very often due to the crush effect that always steals vulnerability stacks. So my best recommendation based on my experience so far is the Swordmancer Light Armor, which provides ultimate gain efficiency. Gloves should be Grizzled Edge Gauntlets for Art's Intensity, which boosts the crush damage from the skill, and the first kit and the second kit will be Grizzled Edge Push Knife. Team options. The best pure physical team that I recommend is Mifu, Pog, Shen, and Li Fang. This team should do the highest physical damage out of all her team options, but the major disadvantage of this team is that it lacks a sustained unit, so if you're a very casual player, you might have a hard time at staying alive even with Mifu's shield passive. So you can replace Shen with Amber if you have Amber on your account. Amber is basically Shen because her battle skill and combo skill can both apply vulnerability stacks, but Shen has a much higher damage potential over a short period of time since she's a burst sub-DPS unit, so replacing Shen with Amber will result in a bit of a team-wide damage loss, but you gain more survivability since Amber heals and provides shields as well to the on-field character. If you're more interested in shatter team compositions, you can try out Mifu, Shen, Alesh to trigger solidification and recover SP for the entire team, and finally Estella to apply physical susceptibility and cryo infliction, which Alesh needs to consume to recover SP and trigger solidification. You can also try out Mifu, Rosie to provide physical damage buff from her passive for Mifu and act as a hybrid to do high damage alongside Mifu as well. Akakuri to help with SP recovery and provide attack buff to the entire team with Termite Cutter, and the last teammate will be Pog for Breach, which increases physical damage taken and provide SP recovery as well. You can replace Akakuri with Ardelia for more powerful buffs, including arts and physical susceptibility, which helps Mifu and Rosie, but only do this if you can rotate well to generate SP fast enough with your basic attacks. So stick with Akakuri for easier gameplay or use Ardelia for high damage buffs with a well-optimized rotation. And that pretty much covers all her teams that I have for you guys. If I failed to mention any viable team composition, be sure to let me know in the comments section. With that said, I'm gonna cover the rotations for her best physical team, including Mifu, Pog, Shen, and Li Fang. Here are the builds that I'll be running on all teammates. Everyone will be using a level 1 weapon because I don't want to kill the boss too early. But in the showcase that I provided at the intro section of the video, everyone was using their signature weapons. Since endgame modes in Endfield starts you off with 0 energy, I'm gonna spam all my ultimates so that we can begin from scratch. These are interpretations of the shorthand words that I'll be using to outline the rotations on screen. Keep in mind that while I'm telling you what to do for every part of the rotation, just keep spamming basic attacks with Mifu for SP recovery. You first start by using Pog's skill to apply vulnerable stacks and help him generate energy for his ultimate since the Frontier set doesn't provide that much ultimate gain efficiency. That'll trigger Shen's combo skill, so use it to apply the second stack of vulnerable. Now use Shen's battle skill, which will trigger Mifu's combo skill for you to use. It's not really needed here, but use it anyway for the extra damage. Once you have at least 100 SP, use Shen's battle skill to apply the final vulnerable stack. Mifu's final strike should trigger Li Fang's combo skill since Mifu's physical susceptibility buff was on the enemy. We don't really need this combo skill now to prevent wasting the link buff, but using it early will make it available again when we are ready to nuke with Mifu, so use it as soon as you see it on your screen. Now final strike as much as you can to generate at least 100 SP, and this is exactly where we need to use Pog's ultimate before we use his skill to consume the vulnerable stacks. But as you can see right here that the ultimate is not available yet, so be sure to keep that in mind in the subsequent rotations. Use Pog's skill to consume the link buff from Li Fang and the 4 vulnerable stacks to apply Breach, which increases the physical damage taken by the enemy for a short period of time. This will trigger Pog's combo skill, so use it immediately to recover some SP. As soon as you get 100 SP or more, use Li Fang's battle skill to apply his physical susceptibility and 1 vulnerable stack. This will trigger Shen's combo skill, but I used Shen's battle skill here before the combo skill because I needed Li Fang's ultimate to be full right here. But keep in mind that the order doesn't really matter. The focus is to get Li Fang's ultimate early and use it to apply more vulnerable stacks on the enemy before you use his combo skill to apply the link buff. Now cast Li Fang's ultimate, Mifu's combo skill, and then use Li Fang's combo skill as well to apply the link buff. Now we have 4 vulnerable stacks on the enemy, Mifu's buff, Li Fang's buff, and link buff. So use Mifu's battle skill 2 and 3 to nuke the enemy and cast Shen's ultimate to nuke the enemy as well. You can see here that Mifu's ultimate is not available yet, but I still have all the buffs to make it do more damage. So if this happens to you, just get at least 100 SP and use the first skill to recover the remaining energy like I did here and cast her ultimate. And that pretty much covers how to rotate Mifu in her best physical team. Feel free to modify the rotation to suit different team compositions based on your personal preference, but this should give you a general idea of the conditions that you need to satisfy to do the highest damage. Finally, to answer the question of how better Mifu is to Endmin, I recorded the damage that both DPS did in the first rotation against Rodigan from their main damage sources, which is their skill and ultimate. Mifu's damage increased by almost 14% compared to Endmin's damage, which is pretty significant, so it's worth the upgrade if your focus is on damage output. Keep in mind that Endmin's rotations are a bit faster than Mifu by about 2 seconds per my testing, but the damage difference is too big for Endmin to keep up even with faster rotations. For her best early potential, I don't really recommend any of them because Mifu doesn't really need them to fix anything in her kit design. P3 looks tempting because it prolongs the shield duration up to 15 seconds, and whenever she gains a shield, she gets a 6% attack buff. This improves survivability, especially if you don't want to use a sustained units like Amber on your team, but the attack buff lasts for only 20 seconds, and the shield now has a 45 seconds cooldown instead of 60 seconds. This means that it'll be difficult to get the attack buff back up from gaining a shield after the second combo skill, which is mainly where she's ready to start doing damage. P1 is also not that great either because Mifu's buff already lasts for 16 seconds and all it requires is a combo skill cast which you can rely on to increase your damage due to its 19 seconds cooldown. Hence, there is really no need for another sequence to maintain the buff uptime. So the true value of P1 is the 5% extra physical susceptibility, but you can gain more physical susceptibility buff from other teammates like Ardelia, Estella, and Li Fang. So P1 would have been highly recommended if the physical susceptibility buff was more than 5%. That'll be all for my Mifu character breakdown. Our Discord link will be in the pinned comment if you're having any issues with Endfield or you just want a place to chill or hang out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.